Radio. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rad One Radio. Today, I have a great person with me. I love this woman. You all know her as the calculating Mary Jo Mason from the Young and the Restless, but today we're going to talk about a lot of other projects that she's doing that you might not be aware about. So, here, without further ado, I give you the lovely Diana Barton. How are you, Diana?
Oh, I'm fine. It's so nice to hear the sound of your voice, and you have sent me a link from, you say 1995. I can't believe how time has just snapped by. And, you know, from the CBS television, from the Young and the Restless. Yeah. And about 8 minutes of footage that I haven't seen in, well, since then. Yeah,
I put it together myself by taking pieces of different episodes.
You did a beautiful job. You did a wonderful job editing it, and it's great because now I know exactly what to do with my hair.
Oh, right, the Lilith look, yeah.
You know, it's definitely time to go back after that bob. But I am kind of busy. I've been really lucky. This last 8 years has been kind of magical. I left behind an acting career to pursue a passion for beauty care, and that really started an amazing journey. As I think you know, I created a company called Diana B, and I had formulated sugar scrubs and fragrances in my kitchen. And all of my friends, eventually, you know, I would have like sort of parties and they'd come over and eventually people started buying it from me because they wanted more of it. They wanted to send it to their friends and so forth and so on. And that's how I started the brand. And that's, Diana B still thrives. It exists. It has become really personal through reinvention lately because, Diana B went on for about 8 years, and then I got this amazing opportunity to join forces with the team of, you know, pro artists at MAC Cosmetics. And I've always, you know, through Y&R and all through being lucky enough to do TV and film and all the modeling, I've always had my hand in the makeup pot, you know? Yeah. So it's always in the makeup, driving Patty Denny out of her mind, you know, because I run up there and touch something up in my dressing room and, you know, those lips.
She's such a sweet lady, though.
She's so lovely, and it was really kind of a family vibe there, I must say. You know, we had her husband was on the set directing, and he is the director that we took to St. Thomas. So it was, you know, and just to come full circle, I try not to be distracted by my computer, so you have my full and undivided. What kind of happened is I began to want to paint, you know, other people, to work with other people's looks and reimaging for, you know, like, not just celebrities, but do weddings and branding and all kinds of things like that. And I took my love of makeup and got some incredible support from MAC in terms of my access to products and to, you know, time on the floor to really, you know, earn my stripes and, you know, be a part of a team. And it turned into an amazing journey these last close to almost 2.5 years. Wow. I've worked with just astonishingly talented people. Amazing photographers and makeup artists that it's a transformation in what they do with people and for people. I worked with Boz Lerman and Douglas Kirkland, who is a world-class photographer, and shot a music video. We've done, but Jess Walton asked me to do her makeup for the daytime Emmys when she went up there with Corbin and eulogized Corbin's mother, Jean Cooper.
She looked gorgeous.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you know, I mean, I'd have to be blind and have both hands tied behind my back not to get that one right. Plus, that's a face that I'm really familiar with. Right. You know, I worked with her so much that when it came time for me to do her makeup for that on air and that pivotal, you know, really poignant personal moment for her. I was super honored that she asked me to come to be the one, because she could have asked anybody. Anybody would have come from the TV universe.
Yeah, that's nice that you kept in touch with her. And in fact,
everyone, many people, in fact.
Yeah, the scenes, there's a lot of scenes with you and Jess in the video there. And both of you, except for your hair, look just as great as you did back then, if not better.
There's some kind of secret there. I can't tell you what it is. But,
well, you know.
Yeah. So, got really busy. I got really busy doing makeup, and I worked with, I'll give you a very short and brief list, because the listeners out there will want to attach an image and a person to makeup, because, just to say I've been working with Mac is not really specific, but I worked on Nancy Cartwright, who you know as the voice of Bart Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
The listening audience out there may not know that is a blonde woman that decided to create herself as a redhead.
Okay.
And we photographed her portrait with Douglas Kirkland, and I got the privilege of doing that makeup for her, creating this whole new look for her. And also, I'm trying to think what other things that instantly you'll relate to. Besides Jess, I had it in my mind, but there's been so many multi-levels, like Emmylou Harris, and going and working on the at the tour when the tour came to town in UCLA with the Wainwright family, and Rufus Wainwright and his aunt Martha, who, man, can that woman sing!
Oh, yeah.
Holy wow! This is that's how you kind of get on the ground and start running. And I am going to be joining the team on Monday for the day for the commercial, which I'm excited about. This is new news.
Oh, wow. That's great.
At the studio of the Fred Siegel Salon in Santa Monica. So this is how the baby steps of constructing another aspect of what I do and love to do. And it all comes back to being on your feet.
Yeah.
And it's a camera's either pointing away from me at somebody else with me making sure they feel and look their best, or it's either photographing me while I'm doing that, or it's like a circle, it's all aspects of the same craft.
Well, you've had experience, modeling. You even had a dance hit and singing, and you've been acting, and you've been behind the scenes. You've done it all. So I can understand being a model. How it feels when you're being photographed. So I'm sure you're excellent at making other people feel comfortable when you do that.
It's 90. I honestly believe that in my humble opinion, it's 90% of the job.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've done a cover of a magazine. As I'm looking at my vision board here, there's many places to access all the different images that I've created, but Pinterest is really good.
Yeah.
Facebook, Diana B. Beauty is great.
All that will be on my website, so people can just listen to the show and see everything.
I won't take up any of your time talking about it, but 90% of the job is holding someone's hand and letting them know that they look beautiful or handsome, as the case may be. I just got done working on two publicists, Elliot Mintz and Michael Levine, arguably two of the most famous publicists in this town. And, they want to know what they look like just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And these things it gets very real when it's going to be the dust liner for somebody's book cover,
Absolutely.
And that's going to go all over the world. So I decided that this was a good move for a lot of reasons. Creating Diana B had become something that, I will be very honest here and vulnerable, it had become stressful for me, because in order to really create what I had in my dream for Diana B, I really needed a global team, like a team of people that were dedicated, not to say that I wasn't working with dedicated people,
right,
but with people that had no connection really to other parts of my life. It was just strictly like an asset in the business, and so I could be more creative, because that's where I live and breathe.
Right.
So This rather amazing thing sort of sprouted up while I was busy painting lipstick on people over here. People in Japan got very interested in smelling and touching and feeling and working with the scents and fragrances and sugar scrubs and lotions from Diana B. And I shot a little video commercial with this amazing TV film director. And I hadn't worked with him since we worked together when I was 17 years old.
Wow. Was that when you did the Tango?
I know you know how old I am.
I have an idea, but not
You
exactly.
have an idea. It's okay. You
look beautiful.
It's important.
So.
Important that people know that since I was 17, 30 years have gone by.
Okay.
And that it's something to be really proud of. You get to last a long time if you take care of yourself. So anyway, Oz Scott shot this video, which is up on my Facebook page, Diana B. Beauty, for Japan. And none of us really had any idea what it was going to become or lead to, but it's developed into its own really quite extraordinary cult little brand
Taking
over
on a life
there.
of its own.
It really has taken on a life of its own. And interestingly, long before I ever worked in TV, and after I left my early modeling career, I spent a long time in Japan. So Japan's super close to my heart. I love the language. I'm really into it, if you will. And I'm very proud. It's a small company. It's called Kokobai, and I know that you've put this up on your links, so I don't have to do the links.
People can find everything about you.
You can find everything about me over there. And then the funny thing is when you translate it back into English, it's backwards, basically.
And you're Diana Barton, right?
I'm Diana Barton. I'm apparently I'll be waiting for that Burton diamond any day now. But it's very exciting because it's the beginning steps of a vision and a hope that I have for Diana B that can circle back around and pick up any missing pieces from the first time around, because I really created something without any business experience at all. I did it from my heart.
Yeah.
And I did it because I loved perfume and fragrance and makeup. And so that part of it was an easy, natural fit for me, I always have had a passion for that. So, it's kind of brought me up to today where I get to bring all that, show up, put my brushes down, take care of somebody who's already feeling really sensitive because, they're going to be photographed. And I know what it's like to be photographed.
Yeah.
Over and over again, where you're so terribly concerned that people are going to, like the way you look and what you sound like, and whether you're singing or acting or whether you're pitching a line of, body lotion, basically.
I've worked in my singing voice. It took a long time recording myself and listening back to my singing voice, and I finally have it to where I like it. And then I'm doing that now with my show, and it's tough. And you made a good point a minute ago about finding people to work with outside of your personal life, because I've also found that trying to do projects with friends can get messy.
Sure. It's not because they don't lack the absolutely penultimately perfect skill set to work with you in that regard.
Right.
It's simply sometimes the dynamic of two people that work so harmoniously well together as friends or loved ones or family, just when somebody starts to disagree, there's no boundary about, are you saying that my opinion isn't worthwhile? That's when all of the corporate structure becomes really, I was going to say nutritious. Nutritious for a brand, because all those guidelines are set in stone, and those are sort of boundaries and very, very well distinguishable boundaries that you can not step over. And it's been very tricky territory on lots of levels for me to delicately set aside It got a little ego-based there, Diana B, for me for a while. And that's not what Diana B is about. Diana B has always been about making other people beautiful. And when you're having to deal with anything other than concentrating on your original concept, sometimes you can lose your original concept. And that's what I have gotten back to.
That's great.
Being of service.
Did you ever get kind of frustrated and bogged down with the business side where it kind of
that's
your
exactly
creative side? Yeah.
Precisely what I'm saying. And, you don't want to drop the ball.
Right.
You want to say that you can do everything, but it's not necessarily true that one person will be good at everything.
Right,
It's already more than enough that I'm privileged to have permission to do makeup and, to go and work in a salon or work on a film set, or do a concert or the daytime Emmys or these Douglas Kirkland. I mean, these amazingly high profile things, and just to be part of a team, and then get to sort of remember that I also have this brand. And I don't have to, there's no other way to say this. I don't have to push that. That's already done. The majority of the work on Diana B it's already finished.
That's great. So it's taken on a life of its own, and you don't have to, struggle as much to do all multitasking with wearing all the hats now, right?
No, and it's terrible. You say this, and I know the moment that you'd be very careful what you wish for, because then the single second that you think that it's just, okay, well, that's fine, and it'll just be this, small thing, and then whatever it'll, whatever never comes up, that word doesn't exist.
That's true. that is true. Yeah. Right.
And, but what happens, hopefully, is that you get to pick people that are, really joyous, really professional, consummately disciplined, and that I can continue to, go and do what I love to do. And there's no reason why it shouldn't happen. I don't think.
Exactly.
The response has been so positive. I have the moment that just blew my mind was I have been working steadily, thanks to Francoise Kirkland and her husband is the photographer Douglas.
Okay.
She has taken me under her wing and been working, booked me consistently this last couple of years. And during that time of growth, the last photograph we did was of I'm trying not to ramble on here.
Oh,
I promise you I have a point.
That's great. I love it.
There's the LA photo, which is I believe it's the partner to LA Art. And it's a big deal, and it was a couple of months back. And it was in downtown LA. And it's the kind of thing where every photographer is represented, and Mr. Kirkland Douglas was being honored that evening, and Elle Fanning was there to give him the award, and his book had just come out this past year, and Tina Turner's on the cover of the book.
Wow.
It's a big time, right? So I had worked with him just before Christmas, and we were working with the young lady whose name is Emiko Flanagan. She's one of the principal ballerinas for the Harlem Ballet. And we took a series of portraits, and when we were done with her video, which is still being edited, otherwise you'd have a copy of it, dear, he unbelievably turned to me and said, "Okay, now do your thing." I mean, and for somebody to turn around to you and say, "Now do your thing," it's awesome. Like, that was my face too. It's like that my non-TV face. So I did do my thing, and I got in there. We did two things, and under the close supervision of Francoise, who's an amazing stylist, we turned this beautiful half Japanese, half Irish ballerina into an Incan princess. Her hair is down to her hip. I have a Tibetan bronze mask, from a shrine.
You have the most beautiful pictures on Facebook. I think you've posted some of these. I've seen.
Thank you. And these cuffs that are African. And I have to be pretty honest, that's her hair, and a little sheet is all she's wearing. And then For one of those photographs, she removed the sheet, and we blew the hair back. And that is, it's art. It's a nude. It happens.
Right.
And it's America. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to say that.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's America, so you have to say that. So when I went to the photo shoot, come right to my point here, I walked in, and there in the middle of the wall, next to the cover of the book up on the wall, was a full, it must have been 3.5 feet wide by 2.5 feet tall photograph of that photograph opening the show. And they didn't tell me. So I couldn't believe it. I'm as proud of that moment as I am of any one of those scenes that took many hours of dedication and rehearsal time and personal rehearsal time to memorize, aspects of hair and makeup that go into the Young and the Restless and to primetime television. 3 cameras, an editor, an executive producer, a producer, a writer, a hairdresser, a wardrobe. I could go on and on. The team that it takes to configure one 3-minute scene is huge.
Nowadays, they do it. They have 1 or 2 takes to do it, and that's it, because the budget's been cut in daytime, and they do it.
I don't remember having too many more than that.
Yeah, that's true. Brenda told me that, Brenda Epperson, and I say it again, I loved you two together. It was a great dynamic, and
she's a class act.
Exactly.
She's just seamless.
And when you called in, when she was on the show, I love to be able to reunite people. It makes me feel good to reconnect good people together.
Yeah, she's looking fantastic, I must say.
So are you.
Oh, thank you, darling. So, that's the top of the food chain there. There's not the work that Eric and I did together, but there's plenty of that, too.
Oh, yeah.
And some of my very favorite stuff, which is really quite frightening. I would imagine I would be frightened myself to watch it, were the scenes with Bill Bell's daughter, Laura Lee.
I don't remember those as well.
Well, I kidnapped her. The character kidnapped her and took her down into the basement.
Okay.
And held her hostage.
That's when Mary Jo went little nuts and shot Victor, and then,
that's exactly correct. And that particular time was that's when I felt like we were really working very, very hard. So I'm as proud of that photograph as any of those things. Those are little
that must have
marks.
Been a great moment to see that. I mean, I bet you felt kind of really surprised and extremely proud at the same time. And that must have been amazing.
It was an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
I was a long time ago, so I can't tell you that it's fresh in my mind, but I can tell you that I let myself go completely unhinged. And I was given permission to feel safe enough to do that.
I'm saying when you saw your own picture, though, that picture in the wall that you didn't know about, that must have just...
Oh, you mean the other thing?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's also kind of a little bit of an out-of-body experience, because you're there, you're participating in it, it's your work, you've arranged every last hair, then you just say your prayers, hope it works out. Then you think, well, it'll turn up somewhere. Maybe I'll get to use it in my portfolio. Mm-hmm. Then you walk in and it opens the show. And you're going, okay. It was magic. It's magic.
I can imagine.
All this stuff is magic, Rob. It's magic to get to act. Singing is magic. Being part of a team that values beauty and creativity is a wonderful. It's a wonderful thing, and having the products in Japan, having these people comment, and having Japanese Vogue put my sugar scrub that I invented in a kitchen in my house across the planet
That's huge.
Mind-blowing. It's, I'm still the kid from Palm Springs, and I saw that and I thought, well, wow, okay, let's go back and revisit that. I really needed to, on a personal note, I needed to get my priorities straight in a lot of different regard. And working with Mac did that very rapidly. Because you either are or you are not.
Right.
Yeah. And I needed that. I always flourished under discipline. That's why the Young and the Restless was such a powerful journey for everyone, I think. I think were you to ask anyone, they would say the same thing.
Yeah, almost just about everybody I've talked to from.
You just don't screw around. Pardon my French.
No, and you don't mess with Eric Braeden either.
No, he's wonderful. He was one of my favorite teachers.
Oh, absolutely. But recently there was an actor who played his son on the show, but got kind of too much into his character, and they didn't get along on the show. And I guess it spread to real life, and he ended up had to leave the show. So
yes, I'm so he consider himself lucky that he can walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, Eric was never anything but patient, and I remember, he's the lead of the show. I had Peter on one side, Eric on the other. Holy cow. And I remember that, that I've never seen the scene again. I wouldn't watch it, and I wouldn't watch it in the booth, as I recalled, when they would let me in. If I bang on the door enough. Now I think they just shoot you if you try to get in there. But at the time,
Tracy Bregman told me that.
You could go, and I ran into Tracy, by the way, about 4 weeks ago.
She's great.
Yeah, she's amazing. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't watch the scenes where Mary Jo had lost her mind, and where Eric was sitting across the prison table or the detention center table, interrogating me. It was just too real.
Yeah, I've always wondered about, if you're acting on a soap opera and you play this other character, 3-4 times a week, and how do you separate the character from yourself? The
same way I will answer your question, and I'm sorry to overlap you.
No,
the same way that you separate yourself from having a brand called your name. You just step back and become professional. And I don't know when that happened, that I was able to put some distance between something that was sort of, egocentric, and then something really was of service to people, because I could see that people were loving it. Mm-hmm. And then, the entertainment value of doing a good job as an actor, I think that's, you'd have to ask other actors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How they feel. But I think you're a better actor when you're not in yourself.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Now, I have a question for you. Did Soap Opera Digest did an interview with you several months back, right?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember they were saying it's time for Mary Jo to come out of the insane asylum.
I found Michael Maloney. We sat down and spent a couple of, hours catching up. We had not seen each other in many, many years. And it was lovely. And it was right at that moment where I was, he was asking me things I couldn't possibly have had. Not the interview I'm giving you today. This simply hadn't happened yet.
Right.
So, but, careers come like, I could be very philosophical and tell you things you already know yourself, but the careers come and go. And sometimes a time needs to elapse for it to become real again. So to answer your question, sure, yeah. At some point you have to be very steady, not to buy in.
Yeah.
Really steady on your feet. And that goes the same in this other business, the business with regard to Japan or being in the press or any aspect of singing or acting or, even with the honor of working as a freelance and on-call makeup artist for MAC. I have to keep my ego firmly in check.
I can understand that. Like, to be proud of your work, but not to let it go to your head too much.
It is not about me.
Exactly.
So, and that's helped it's funny, I never thought that would help my acting, but it really has.
I can imagine that. And it's like sometimes it takes maybe a year or 2 years, 10 years, but you look back and you see how everything just happens for a reason, and you see the whole circle, like you said.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Anyway, it's a trip to see the stuff in Japan, and that's a good thing. And it seems to be, I don't know. There's a good fresh energy brewing, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. So that maybe I don't need to.
Probably don't need to. I trust your gut. That's the best thing I've learned. I just have a quick question for you about maybe a couple beauty tips. Now, I know cortisone cream you swore by for bags under the eyes instead of Preparation H.
Well, I from years of experience of traveling and from having, an array of things go wrong with my skin, it's just a go-to thing to keep in your kit. Any makeup artist will tell you that. If somebody's breaking out in a rash, or you have some fine lines or something like that. It just breaks down the surface of the skin. I don't want there to be a mass run on cortisone cream. And there could be many skin doctors may disagree with this because it thins the skin slightly, and it makes you terribly sensitive to sunlight. So you don't want to overdo it, but it's not a bad thing. I think use as directed.
Right.
Obviously.
It also shrinks tissue, right? So it'll shrink the bags under the eyes.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, I actually have tried it a few times when I didn't get enough sleep, when I went somewhere. Now, what do you suggest for men? Because nowadays there's more and more skincare products for men, and I think, it's...
Same thing I suggest for women.
See, that's exactly it. Now they just package it for men so men don't feel self-conscious, and it has a more masculine scent.
Listen, this is absolutely on the record, which is probably not what you expected me to say. But I go into my kitchen, and I whip up batches of my sugar scrub for all my friends. I have male friends. I have female friends. I have guy friends, like, tough male dude friends that, use the maple sugar scrub, or I'll make something, different. I'll make a green tea, or I'll make, any one of the things that I can make myself easily, handily. And I'll, whip up a jar and I'll give it to them. And, it's the same for women as it is for men. Yeah. The whole idea for Diana B started from me wearing heavy makeup every day, cooking under those lights at CBS.
Yeah.
It's because I would come home and I would wash my face, and I was breaking out in cystic acne.
Oh.
I had like bumps and things under my skin. I could not get my skin clear. And so, I started to look for something that would sort of clear my skin up. I've tried lots of different things before I set on my own path. I used Proactive for years.
Me too.
You dedicated Proactive.
Oh, you have to be religious with it.
I was religious with it, and which is why I know that people are religious with Diana B, because I have, I to this day, I consider the La Mer product, that face cream that they make, to be, I can't live without it, if I were honest. I don't know what I would do. I would die, I really, that's it. And I feel that way. I used Murad for a long time before I had the first idea about creating Diana B.
I have to try your sugar. I have to try that, because
every guy, every girl I know, every person I know gets one, period.
I'm older than I care to admit, and people think I'm 10 years younger, but I want to keep that, and my skin is very sensitive. Moisturizers tend to give me cystic acne and things like that, and I have to use Proactive, like, exactly as they, but sometimes I forget, and if I forget once, then forget it, So definitely got to try.
Well, that's what the sugar scrub does. That product, one day I stopped scrubbing. I looked down and I went, oh my God, I've got it. I've done it. And then I started using it on myself. And then people started to ask me what I was using, and then that was 8 years ago.
That's amazing.
So, it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey. Many, many stops and bumps along the way. But I needed a good solid break, and I took it, and I needed it, and apparently everybody else needed it too.
and now the acting bug's starting to bite you again?
Yeah, well, it's hard to shake. I've been doing it all my life. And I saw saw those scenes today,
Mm-hmm.
and the next time I'll be on camera will be on Monday.
Oh, cool.
I think you have the last video I shot for this wonderful website called Kuyam. Kuyam is like a go-to website, and it's just makeup tips that I've learned.
Oh,
that
cool.
I shot a little video, and then, it's starting to, the door is starting to knock,
One thing leads to another. I've discovered just by doing the show over the past year, it's like one person, you just introduces you to somebody else, and then that leads to another opportunity, and things just kind of keep rolling sometimes. And now, do you think they'll ever make a makeup for men where you can't tell they're wearing makeup? Because
yes, they do right now, and every guy you see on television is wearing it.
What about in real life? Is it stuff that a guy could wear like normally around wherever without people saying, "Oh, look at him with makeup"?
MAC makes 3 different products. So they're prep and prime products. They're high definition products. They're incredible. They're mineral based. They're light enough that you can barely see them. I swear by them. I also do very old school, heavy duty, dense, killer, thick, fabulous makeup. But your question, I think really, it sounds like if it sounds like I'm married to Matt.
Oh, that's fine.
There's many companies that produce extraordinary products, but I've never seen anything so uniformly effective on so many different types of skin, in both the real world and in television and in editorial and on stage.
Well, that's awesome.
It holds its water, if you will.
Well, when I shoot my first
quite literally,
video,
actually, it's a good way of putting it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, when I shoot my first music video, I have some things that I'm trying to settle up here, but if all goes as it should, I should be living in LA by like the fall or something around there. And I would love it if you would, do my makeup.
There won't be anybody else. I won't let anybody else do it.
All right, neither will I.
I won't let anybody else. So that's the story, Morning Glory. It's really kind of exciting and groovy and interesting, and I do all the things I used to do. I just started doing them for friends and for family because there was a need. And that's how it started in the first place. So we'll see what happens next. But
I'm sure you'll
kind of take it one day at a time and see what comes of it.
That's a great attitude, and I'm sure you're going to have success because you're so dedicated and you do what you love, and you're such a great person, full of good energy. And I want to thank you, Diana, for spending this time with me today. And
you're welcome. I'm going to go back and stare at my skin in 1995 and see what I need to do.
Watching it now, I'm sure, you're a lot less critical of yourself than if you had watched it back then.
I have absolutely no answer for that.
No?
You know that I won't answer that question.
Okay. All right. Because I find that about myself, but it's different for everybody. Well, and everybody can follow you on Twitter at Diana Barton 16 and at Diana B Beauty, and they can like your page on Facebook. And I'm going to have all that stuff will be up on rad-radio.net.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say that I have reached my limit of 5,000 friends on my personal Facebook page yesterday.
Oh, good for you.
And well, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so, but I do interact with all of the different social media sites, with particular attention to Facebook, Diana B Beauty, and there's a lot of room and I try honestly to respond to every email I get.
You're great like that, yeah, and that's...
Yeah.
It's
a responsibility. I mean, if somebody is going to take the time to ask a question, there should be somebody on the other end of the phone ready to answer it.
I couldn't agree more. That's just common courtesy, and that's why I love you so much. You're a great person, and nothing like Mary Jo.
Well, everyone has their moments, dear.
Oh, yes,
but it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. I hope that you've got what you need here, and if you don't, you certainly know where to find me. Have a great week, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Diana.
Bye, dear. Bye-bye.
Follow her on Twitter at Diana Barton 16 and at Diana B Beauty. You can also like her Facebook page, Diana B. Beauty. If you go to rad-radio.net, there'll be a little section with each of my guests with links to all of their official sites, Facebook, Twitter, where you can purchase any of their books or things that they do. So go and check that out. Thank you for listening. This is Rad One Radio.